Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a good week. Wanted to talk this week about Chapter 9 and our assignment for Chapter 9. But before I go there, I just wanted to point out the deadline to drop a class without a grade attached to it is Monday the 31st. So keep that in mind if you're not doing as well as you thought you should be in this course or hope to. Anyway, I just wanted to remind you that that deadline is hanging out there. So um, let's see. Let's talk about Chapter 9. All right. So Chapter 9 is going to be addressing marketing globally. And really, it is a global market anymore. Technology has made international markets accessible. Customers are shopping internationally. And the opportunity is huge, really. The book points out that most of the world's population anymore is will be, if it's not already, coming from developing countries, and so you just see corporations going that direction more and more and more, and really have to be prepared in business to operate internationally. So very much worth it, but there, definitely is going to be a more complicated approach than just to be selling domestically. The environmental forces operating in global markets are the same as what you see in domestic markets, but kind of on steroids a little bit, if you could think of it like that. Socioculturally, you're going to be dealing with a lot of different cultures, different value systems than we're familiar with. So there's some research involved there to be sure you know and are sensitive to the people that you're trying to market to. And economically, most of the world doesn't have as stable an economy as we do in the United States, and you can just pretty much figure you're going to be dealing with unstable economics. So also political, legal, and regulatory situations are going to be more complicated. The rules that apply in one country don't apply necessarily in another country. The value systems are different. There's a term in the textbook called cultural relativism that basically means that what's culturally acceptable in this country may not be in this country, and vice versa. And so it's relative. What's acceptable is relative. And so you're dealing on that platform with the different markets that you're interfacing with. Okay, so ethical and social responsibility there as well. In our country, we have we have pretty particular standards for what's allowable from companies and what's not. Well, that's not necessarily the case in other countries, but yet here in the United States, we often will hold our companies accountable for what their international counterparts are doing or how they're behaving, and so you need to be aware of that. Competition globally is fierce and going to become more so. So it's a more complicated playing field for sure. And technologically, again, technology has made the world available to customers, and so it's going to continue to enhance the tendency to a global world, global market. And I just want to point this out. Y'all probably have seen this as well or realized this, but have you noticed, even in our political campaign going on right now, how big a deal international marketing has become with the TPP and the NAFTA? It's just a major talking point right now. Just another symptom or sign that marketing is hugely impactful in the world and worth our time. Very, very interesting. All right, so let's talk a little bit about trade alliances and trade agreements that operate in the world today. Of course, we have NAFTA, the United States, Canada, Mexico, the European Union, the European countries. Mercosur. I probably butchered that one. Mercosur. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that's going to be the southern part of South America, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, and there's some associated affiliate kind of countries in there too. APEC, Asia Pacific, so basically countries that are along the Pacific Ocean. The Asian is the Southeast Asian countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, And then finally, the World Trade Organization. This is an organization that intends to promote world trade and fairness between countries, and it's kind of turned into quite the political organization. So know something about each of those. And well, let's talk about more how you go about acting internationally or marketing internationally. There are 4 stages that you'll see when companies move toward more of an international presence. They start off being just a domestic start off just being a domestic company, marketing just domestically, and then they might start exporting a little bit, kind of dabbling, and then they might eventually, if they build that up, then they might have a subsidiary office in another country, and then ultimately they might start manufacturing internationally. So I can give you my own little story. When I worked for that barcode reader manufacturer, Percon, when I started there, we had about $1 million a year in sales internationally. We had a customer in the Philippines, we had one in Italy, and we had a big one in Mexico. And so after I'd been there a couple years, they asked me if I wouldn't mind doing something with their international sales. So I did, and in a year, we tripled our international sales, and it was not hard to do. We had, by the time I turned to another project, we had customers in Chile, trying to think where all they were, Singapore. I'm not going to give you a good list, it's been too long. But anyway, we really built our capacity there, and even had visits to different countries and them visiting us. And so it really is such an attractive and profitable potential that many companies will go that direction. So you can import and export. You can use trading companies to help you find buyers and sellers. You can create licensing agreements, franchising agreements, contract manufacturing, where you commission a company in another country to manufacture for you. You can create a joint venture where you have a partner in another country. And then finally, you can have direct ownership, where you're actually owning a facility or a company in another country. So those are kind of the steps that companies will tend to go through when they go more global. All right, so let's think about that. Let's say you're a company and you're going to start you're going to ramp up your international business. Well, you still have your domestic business, and so somehow you've got to set up a structure internally that accommodates what you're doing internationally with what you're doing domestically. And so the most basic of these structures is an export department, probably very small, probably just kind of handling the day-to-day international activities alongside whatever's going on domestically. That was me at Percon. I was their export department there for that period of time. An international division is a little bigger scope. Here you may have a specific group or area or building or department that's dealing with international activity. Communication is an issue because, remember, you're still sourcing the same sorts of products that go to domestic markets. So you've got to be coordinating and communicating with all the domestic players to get your products to your international consumers, get them manufactured, get those customers serviced, and so forth. If you are an internationally integrated company, now you really are having to get more sophisticated. You'll see companies set up their international divisions or internationally integrated divisions based on product. So you might have an office in France that deals with printer products to all international markets versus your office in Paris that markets flash drives to all international markets. That would be a product sort of an organization. Or you could set it up geographically so that you might have a European office and you might have an Asian office, that sort of thing. If you have a matrix sort of a structure, you're combining the two. So you might have a printer, an office that handles printing products for Asia or for Europe, that sort of thing. So it gets more sophisticated. Communication is a big deal. Again, you're playing in the same pot to some extent with the product. It's going to the world, and so at the same time you've got your international market that is different from your domestic market, and so you have different needs of the customers, different service requirements, different packaging potentially, many potential differences, but yet you still have to be coordinating all of that back with the company headquarters, which is driving strategy, driving product development, those things. And so there is a lot of collaboration and cooperation that must happen, and so how you set that up in your company matters. All right, probably talked too much about that. Here are some of the terms that came up in the chapter that you should know, and these are some of the concepts that I think you should know. I think the crux of this chapter really was just to kind of introduce you to the playing field that is the global market. So a lot of this information isn't necessarily new. It's just in a little bit of a different context. So let me know if you have any questions. Let's see. Oh, so this is a fun assignment for this chapter, I think, anyway. So what you're going to do is you're going to pretend that you are a company here in the U.S. and you've been approached by a company in Bangladesh that sells apparel products in large quantities, and they want to know if they could provide you with your apparel products. Now, in your company, you do like specialty logos, team logos, and things like that on apparel. And so it might work great for you to be able to source your t-shirts from a company internationally that can get them to you a lot cheaper. It's really an attractive idea to think about. But this company is in Bangladesh, and so you need to do your due diligence a little bit here and research that company, research that country, find out what's going on there. And so I'm asking you to do that with this assignment. Part of the reason I'm asking that is because you're going to need to do that for your term project, and so this is a good way for you to practice that a little bit. Use some of the search tools that are available to you on the internet and see what you find. I do want to see your sources. Let's see. Right here I say be sure to list your references. And I want you to use the information you're finding to discuss some of the environmental forces that you see operating in Bangladesh. Okay? So gather some sources, talk about some environmental forces based on your sources, and then come to a conclusion. Do you think that mylocker.net should partner up and work with BD Wear out of Bangladesh? Let me know what you think. All right.